Hey everyone, welcome back. Last time, we talked about the Tower of Babel, how the nations scattered, and how languages were confused. Now, let's press forward in episode 34, which I called From Shem to Abram. But through all that confusion and dispersion, God kept his eye on one specific family line, the line through which his ultimate promise of redemption would flow. This is the story of that lineage, from Shem all the way to a man named Abram. So, let's pick up right after the Great Flood. The Bible tells us in Genesis that 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad, and so the family tree began to grow. After Arphaxad came Shelah, and after Shelah his son Eber was born. Now Eber is a really interesting figure. From his name, we get the word Hebrew. His son was named Peleg, and the Bible adds a fascinating detail. In Peleg's time, the earth was divided. This directly connects back to the scattering at Babel we just discussed. It shows how these events were happening in a real, historical context, impacting real families. Generation after generation, the line continued. After Peleg came Ru, then Serag, then Nah, and finally, a man named Terah. The genealogy seems to move quickly, but imagine the centuries passing, the world changing, and yet, this specific lineage being preserved. When Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of 3 sons, Abram, Nah, and Haran. Haran had a son named Lot, who will become a very important character later. But tragically, Haran died young, right there in his homeland, the city of Ur of the Chaldeans. Following this loss, Terah decided to make a big move. He gathered his family, his son Abram, his grandson Lot, and Abram's wife, Sarai. Their destination was the land of Canaan, the land God would later promise to them. But they didn't make it all the way. They stopped in a city also named Haran and settled there instead. Terah lived to be 205 years old and died in that city. So, what's the big picture here? From Shem to Abram, 10 generations passed. That's nearly 1,000 years of waiting, 1,000 years of a promise quietly unfolding through time. While the world was busy building cities and empires, spreading far and wide after Babel, God's focus was fixed on this one, single line. Think about it. In the bustling, advanced city of Ur, a place filled with idol worship and astrology, a man named Abram was about to hear the voice of the one, true, and living God. Notice that I said idol worship, as I will be doing a bonus content on Abram, which will show you, my listener and follower, why we called Abram the father of faith, as we might have learned it in school. If they still teach us that in these our current day and age. But never mind, let's just stick with the Holy Scripture, and we will be fully vested in His Word with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. While nations were building monuments to their own glory, God was patiently building a story. It's a story of faith, obedience, and a covenant of love. The blessing that was first promised back in the Garden of Eden.